After OptoTrack calibration, all parameter settings should be checked and, if necessary, adjusted. For setting the parameters, let's go to Experiment menu and click on second option, which is Set Parameters. A following yellow window pops up. This window consisting of three forms to switch between, namely General, OptoTrack, and Analog Input. In General form, the application name can be selected as the default. The trial number will normally be set automatically. If our data folder is empty, it reads 1. Collection time is the maximum number of the seconds a single trial takes. During the measurement, it can easily be adjusted just before each trial. In OptoTrack form, first of all, enable OptoTrack defines whether OptoTrack data has to be collected during the measurement. If the green light on the button is off, the OptoTrack parameters will not be accessible. And if the green light is on, OptoTrack data will be collected and the parameters value can be adjusted. The Strobr port table panel defines the number of markers. This should be in line with the number of markers which are attached to the Strobr. For instance, if we want to use 3 clusters of 3 markers in our experiment, we need to set 9 markers in this panel. To digitize the bunny landmark, the pointer can be attached to the second port of the system unit. As you can see here, we set 6 in front of port number 2 because we use a pointer with 6 markers on it. The sample rate can be freely chosen, although the number of markers times the sample frequency is limited to 3300 Hz with OptoTrack 3020. The recommended value for Strobr voltage is 7, but depending on the camera setup and the lighting conditions, a slightly higher or lower value may provide a better visibility of the marker. The marker frequency depends on the number of markers and the sample rate, and must be no less than number of markers plus 2 times sample rate. In the above example, with 50 markers and a sample rate of 50 Hz, the marker frequency should be at least 750 Hz. Moreover, the maximum marker frequency in the OptoTrack 3020 systems is 3500, but keep it a bit lower than 3500 because it might easily cause problems. The default value for duty cycle is 0.5 and it doesn't need adjustment. Only when we use a higher Strobr voltage, it might be better to lower the duty cycle to prevent the markers from burning, especially if long trials are involved. If you want to see a graph of 3-dimensional position data after each trial, check the offline feedback. At the top right of the form, we can find the setup called Real-Time 3D option. Enable the Real-Time 3D option is preferred because this provides more control both during the trials and between trials. Real-time 3D option has two sub-options. If no explicit instructions have been given, they should be set as shown in the form. The first, checked; the second, cleared. Below the real-time feedback section, three additional checkboxes are present. Use interpolation, use external clock, use external trigger. As OptoTrack markers are fired sequentially, the default behavior of OptoTrack is to time interpolation raw data within a frame. Use interpolation should be checked to activate this behavior. The use external trigger needs to be checked when you want to synchronize the OptoTrack recording with another recording device. Finally, in the bottom middle of the form, the camera setup can be entered. The option Stimulate OptoTrack System is only for testing purposes and should always be off during measurements. Since we have already calibrated the OptoTrack, the camera file refers to the subfolder that was created. If a single camera is used, the OptoTrack doesn't have to be calibrated, and the option Use Standard Coordinate System may be checked to use a standard camera file. The third form concerns data from force plate and other analog devices, for example, EMG or acceleration meter. If only OptoTrack data needs to be collected, enable FP1, enable FP2, and additional channels should be simply unchecked, and all other settings may be ignored. If data of one or two force plates are desired, enable FP1 and enable FP2 should be checked. And three types of force plates can be chosen. From Kistler for the Kistler platforms which mounted into the floor, movable for the transportable platforms, and dual belt for the platforms which mounted into the treadmill. Offline feedback indicates if a graphic representation of forces and points of application should be shown after each trial. At any time, the current settings can be saved to disk by pressing Apply. Pressing Cancel allows for returning to the main screen, ignoring all adjustments after the last apply, whereas pressing OK returns to the main screen with all adjustments saved.